everyone. So I'm recording this on Tuesday. I will post this tomorrow, but I don't know the structure of how I'm gonna do this or what I'm even gonna title it, but this is a video on P. Diddy, and thank you for the request. I remember it's been quite some time, but it was E, if you're watching this, that requested this, so I appreciate that. I like to start these readings and celebrity or public figure, whatever you want to call them, right? I just say celebrity for ease of execution. But, well, let me just jump into what I'm feeling right now, which is a lot of sadness. Really sad, really sad. And it's drawing me into the inner child of P. Diddy and this like brokenness that I feel inside. It's a shattering of his identity, and I'm actually hearing the word, and I'm also seeing the word former. So it's this feeling of a former identity, and I'm seeing this as a karmic break of a bond, a loop. It's a loop because it feels a constant reoccurring. It's like this ghost that has been following him for lifetimes, that needed to be broken, shattered, and he's come to this place in his soul's journey where he's confronted with that same ghost, and it's up to karma is what I'm saying. It's up to karma whether or not he continues this loop again. It's not free will at this point anymore. It's not choice. It's karma, and it could present itself as free will in this life, in the sense that it's like where his mind is at, right? What does he choose to do at this point in his life with everything going on? Where karmically, what does that dictate for him as far as his future and current decisions, right? So I don't think I need to really explain that any further, but that's essentially how it's gonna present itself, is free will as far as how he handles the situation, but ultimately it's karmic in the way that he even decides. And that's all been built up through other people, I'm seeing. And the ghost that I see is his father. It's being highlighted to me that there was a recent past life with his father where he was killed by his father. They weren't the same dynamic in the past life. I'm not sure. It feels like they were equals. So maybe like associates or brothers or there's some similar age. Like they feel equal. So feels like who his father is as a spirit, right, in that incarnation killed him, and there's some sort of, it feels like revenge in this life of being part of his story, right? He became his father in this life and then caused trauma in his life when he was younger. You know, he left, he was killed, something like that. And it's like somehow a revengeful type of energy that was connected to why that happened. Like, but P. Diddy, when he incarnated into this life, I'm seeing the word innocent soul. They're highlighting innocent soul, and then they're highlighting pragmatic and primitive. So they're putting these words, pragmatic, primitive, innocent soul, and it's a feeling that I get from P. Diddy saying, I want you to know that I forgive you, towards the father's spirit. So this is beyond what happened in this life. It's beyond what happened in the past life. It's, as a spirit, I forgive you. And it's almost like a martyr. I mean, it is a martyr, but not quite, because the father had the option, the opportunity to change, but he didn't. And then they pull me back to the father as a child, and the father displaying his hopes and dreams as an adult, and how in some form there was also a sense of karma, like a karmic justice in a way, of P. Diddy getting what the father would have wanted. As far as notoriety and maybe the more fun aspects of P. Diddy's life that a lot of people could relate to, I'm also seeing like a horse, like what is it called? Like a rocking chair as a horse. They're showing me that. And that feels separate. So it's a separate message. That might be something very specific for P. Diddy, or connected to the father in some way. And I'm seeing like an old photo. So this could also be connected to like a photo album, like a child album. So when it comes to like currently what's going on with P. Diddy, because I'm sure a lot of people have questions with regards to that. Just briefly speaking on this, you know, I start out, and I didn't with this, but of what I know about these celebrities, because I do know people who I guess would be considered celebrities, or even people who aren't considered celebrities but are like all connected to different industries. And you know, people talk, and a lot of this has already been known, that like what's going on with him, what he's about, and like what is kind of coming to fruition. And so this isn't new information. It may be new publicly, but this isn't new news, right? And even with these types of things, like it takes a certain protocol in order to execute, so that it's already been discussed prior to all of this to some capacity. And you know, people talk, even just gossip about, you know, what's going on in people's lives. And you see with people coming forward that they obviously were witnesses to some of this behavior. And look at all this time that's passed, right? That no one's really wanted to come forward. And there's karma that's connected to these people, and all of you people who are connected to being part of this enterprise that it's not done anything, or you're complicit in some way, you were joining in some way, and it feels like this mixture of it feels like an anthill, right? Like that's the feeling I get. It's kind of this crumbly texture, and I'm seeing like the dimension of an anthill, like building up. And so you see like it builds upon each other. And they're showing it, I think ants use their spit and they mix it in. So they're explaining it's like you're compiling your own problems and your own karma upon each other. And that's on a bigger scale of this industry, right? And it's pulling me kind of briefly to maybe just highlight it sort of how, like, you can look at any other problematic individual in the industry, right? That suddenly if people, it's like the public, it's just the right conditions happen and suddenly the public will turn and maybe they'll forget about it or they won't. And then it's like, why was everything ignored, right? Take Britney Spears, for example. People were speaking out about that, and yet they were ignored. But then there were so many people who knew about it that were complicit, right? Or Jeffrey Epstein. People, and still to this day, say they had no idea. They were complicit and they knew. And people talk and people talk and people see. And you can even look at lower scales. Look at someone like Trisha Paytas, right? And again, people talk, people see, and yet it's swept under the rug, right? It's this continuous thing because it's the anthill of the spit of people just building upon this mess, this empire of destruction and mess and degeneracy. And karmically, those who are complicit are going to face retribution in whatever capacity is relevant for their journey, whether it's in this life or subsequent lives. And that's a huge message that's coming through that's being pointed out. Now with P. Diddy, again, this feels deeper than what's just happening in this life, something deeper from the surface of things. But they're also connecting me to P. Diddy and this connection to the dark. And it's this feeling that his frequency is, well, it's I'm getting this image. It's interesting, like I'm getting this image, right? There's a, I actually have it. One moment and I'll go get it. This is what they're showing me. It's Harriet Tubman's Underground Railroad by Paul Collins. This is what they're showing me. But she's holding them back, right? So she can listen. But I'm seeing this as P. Diddy and this as just, I don't know. I don't know who that is. I think it's more of just like just energies. I don't know. I'm not getting it clear, but it's repressed. It's repressed. It's like flip the energies, right? Obviously he's not anywhere in the same capacity as Harriet Tubman, but it's like repressing. He's repressing energies. All right, he's the leader, and then these who are following him, but he's preventing the crossing, right? And that's what I'm getting. for his energy with regards to, well, it's this, how do I say? Well, okay. I'm just gonna have to flip it and I'm gonna stare at this so I can kind of really just pick up on this. So what I am receiving, the information I'm receiving, is his frequency is pointed towards dark forces. And when I say dark forces and dark energy, in truth, it is Satan in some way, but it's some sort of off earth dark energy. And I've talked about like soul trackers. I've talked about like these energies I see that like they jump from different universes or they jump from different worlds. And so it's this off-world energy that he's trying to summon and connect to, and feels that he's connected in some way, similar to a lot of these celebrities who have untimely deaths. But in truth, it's a sacrifice. It's a self-sacrifice that they have committed because they believe that they're going to ascend into this off-world area that has them as being worshipped as gods, just as they've essentially been worshipped as gods in this life, right? And so they're taking that next step to domination in some sort of dark way, right? And so P. Diddy is well connected. I'm seeing to, we'll say like Asian connections. There's Asian connections that I'm getting here to some particular country, but it's their entertainment industry, but it's beyond, it's not just the entertainment industry. For that particular one, it feels like it, but it's also the political climate that's being adjusted. It's like he's controlling it. It's not necessarily financially, but it's like the climate changes because of something that he backs that adjusts how the climate is. It's like the tension or the politics within the politicians. It's like that's also being dictated through P. Diddy. Like a different example, and this is not to totally derail and like confuse you guys, because I'm just getting like without really getting to it, like think about Philadelphia, right? Like Kensington Station or street or whatever it is, right? Like think about that, and like why is it the way it is, and who's controlling all of that, and what's going on there, right? On like a bigger scale, right? So just that's kind of the same analogy, I guess, that I would take with P. Diddy, where it's like, how is he part of the interconnectedness of other countries and the politics and the music industry, and even like produce, well, it could be produce, but products, right? Like how is he part of that web? And that has, there's a reason why, it's a bigger reason beyond what's happening with like Cassie and all that, as to why he's currently in the position he's in. Why is he seemingly not invincible. There's a point being highlighted there that they're trying to bring up. And I'm seeing the color green. So green's important here. And the way that I'm seeing it kind of feels like this tidal wave, where at one point, I would say in the most recent past, so this would be like the last 2 to 3 months or so, is where he felt that it's similar to, like, you know, that whole term where it's like any publicity is good publicity, like even if it's bad. So take that kind of term and put it in terms of energy. So it's like any energy is good energy because you're feeding the beast, right? You're feeding my energy. You're putting energy towards me and you're feeding me. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, I don't care. I'm being fed. And I don't mean this in like a narcissistic type of way. I'm talking in a spiritual way. He's looking at it in a spiritual way. He he is well connected spiritually when it comes to off-world dark energies. He's not wrong about that. And I would say he's one of the few that are not misguided as to whom he's connecting to, whom he's speaking to, and that he is somehow a descendant or part of some sort of dark energy off world. He's actually not wrong about that, but but it's just feeling like, but at whose detriment? It's kind of like this example that I'm getting where you could be part of, you're always part of God, right? Like he's also part of God, like the God, the source, okay? He is part of God. And you can be part of God so long as you want to walk with God, right? And even when you deny God, you are still part of God. But you can also be part of darkness if you so choose to walk with darkness, right? Like they will readily take you up, right? Now, it's not going to go the way that you think it is, right? They're going to use you. They're going to use you and discard you. Most people don't know that, they don't care. You know, they're at a point where they don't care. But P. Diddy, on a soul, like a spiritual level, he's something. He's something, and he knows that he is. And other people know that he is. But there's a lot of people who are jealous of this and who deny this. But again, at what cost? At what cost? Because I'm hearing sacrifices. He sacrifices so much that he's, it's that perpetual feeling of emptiness, right? When you walk with God, it's the perpetual feeling of fullness. It's like overflow, like your cup is overflowing. With darkness, it's always not enough. It's always not enough. And the thing I'm getting is, his guides are saying, like, you could have brought light into the world, and you have brought light into the world. That's not to be denied or neglected. But in order to, like, you can walk, just as what I've said, like, you can walk with the light, right? Just you can look at the same, like, when I talk about spiritually, like, oh, he's some descendant of some off-world thing, and he's not wrong about that. What you can look at it in the same terms of, what about someone who has been born into a family that is not necessarily the most moral family ever? You get born into poor conditions, right? Just because you are of that lineage doesn't mean that you are bound to those same, life choices. You can choose to live a different life, right? You can again break that cycle. And they're pointing out him being born into this world, and those times that he's ever been born into this world, it's natural that even those who aren't here to bring light, I've talked about this, I think I talked about this in my last, I don't know if it was my last day, I've talked about it in some video before, but it's like, just because you aren't here necessarily to bring light into the world in your particular path doesn't mean that you don't, whether it's other people learning from those experiences or it's just human nature to also partially be nurturing. And it's also being born here, you are fluctuating between all of those things, all of your past lives, all of your connections spiritually, all of your generational, like your DNA history being embedded into your body, and your connection to God, all of that. This is a world of free will. And it's a very short time that you're here to experience that. And so in that sense, you are more a product of the light if you are from somewhere that is of dark. So it's a way to ascend, and also the way that that's ascending is you're collecting positive karma, because it's just what happens in this world. It's just how it is. And so even if you're so destructive, it's like there are going to be people who can learn from you or forgive you in some way, and that lightens your energy. And so he is here lightening his energy irregardless of any of this. What his guides would want him to know is that they don't fault him for any of the choices that he's made, or any identity that he's taken on. They understand that his life has been very difficult for him, and that he is an innovator. I'm seeing the word mechanic. There's a significance here to mechanic, or something mechanical. and that he doesn't have to identify with his faults and his limitations in a way that perpetuates it. There's a way to acknowledge those things and take accountability for those things, but also allow yourself to be purified or reborn in some way. I mean, irregardless, right? He is a child of God, is what they're saying, and that he is forgiven. That's the thing. And I just picked up a deck, and I was going to use it, and I look, as soon as I said forgiven, I picked it up and looked at the bottom. It says forgiveness, right? God forgives you. God loves you unconditionally. It's the karma, right? It's us that dictates all of the semantics that go with it, all of that. I saw a young girl. I don't know if he has a daughter, but there's a young girl that they're highlighting, and she is some sort of link to change. There's forgiveness coming through again, patience and pleasure, and going forward. See, it's an opportunity here. The simplicity, I see this is God always coming through. Simplicity, this represents God, and supreme love. And you're not forgiven until you forgive yourself, is what they're saying. And a purification. So that's another repeating theme here at the bottom of the deck. Still down there. Okay, so I'll pull one more. Purity. So again, as far as purifying the spirit and purifying your energy. Now, is that something that he's likely going to do? I don't know. When I say that, it highlights this sun that's coming through here, where it seems that irregardless of the destination, that this life has shown a light on the opportunity for change, an opportunity for a different path, and an opportunity for something different, right? Most times it takes many lifetimes for things to really take a drastic change, right? When you look at it from, it's not drastic because it takes many lifetimes, but if you look at it from a certain perspective, it may seem as such. But when you zoom in, you can see all the different paths and all the different opportunities and all the points of where you kind of go forward, then you back a little bit forward, back a little bit, right? And so it seems as if here that this is at least a point where the light is being shown, and that opportunity is becoming more readily available because it's better seen. Sometimes you don't know you have the option to take a different route because it's not been something that you've ever been able to recognize before, right? It's like the answers could always be in front of you. The solutions can always be in front of you. But if you don't know what you're looking for, or you don't know what you're looking at, then how are you supposed to solve it, right? You just have to keep working at it and working at it and working at it and trying new things, taking a break and going back to it. And then it becomes more clear. And so his guides are coming through of saying, you know, that patience in yourself and in your path is yours alone. Your path is yours alone. And that patience also has to come from within yourself, patience of yourself, and not placing too much strain on getting everything done, getting everything right in this lifetime. Now, whatever you choose, again, I mean, it's going to have to be paid again, but he knows that. It's an interesting concept because he knows that, but for some, there's some sort of difference in the way that his soul incarnates, where I don't know. I mean, it's like, it's kind of like this feeling that I get where, like, just like, okay, like, think about it. Like, do you remember your past life, right? It's like, well, no, maybe not. So what's it matter? Like, what if you were a terrible person in your past life and now you're here? Like, it doesn't matter, right? If you hurt someone in your past life, what's it matter? So it's like what he does, like he has this concept, right? And it's like, well, what I do in this life carries forward in the next life. But because I'm working with dark, then the dark that I do carries forward in the next, because I'm doing it with the intention of fostering the dark. I'm doing it like that. But it's different with him. That's the thing, is like, not anyone can do this. It's different with him. Most people who do this, they're just gonna, you know, have a very bad time. Because he knows that his identity is past his identity, his self as P. Diddy. It's like he can, there's this feeling that I get where he can go off world and like live, like actually like exist and live simultaneously. It's almost like a parallel life, but it's not, because it's like a more truest form, but it's in a dark form. So it's not necessarily true, but it's like true as in like capital T, like true in the purified sense, but it's true in the reality sense, just as this world is true, right? You get what I'm saying? And so it goes back to what's like, why is he being brought down now? It's something to do more on like a spiritual, it's almost like, not almost, but it's some form of a spiritual battle between dark energies. So it's dark taking down dark. It's not light taking down light, or light being shed on something dark. It's dark mixed with dark. It's like we're watching a cartel battle. It's like, okay, they're both not good. something to do with the, and oh yeah, it came through in all three. I wasn't even paying attention because I was just watching the moon. Yeah, something to do with the moon. The moon's so important here. Whatever the moon represents, it's not like okay, not in intuition and all this. It's like something more. What does the moon represent? What does the moon represent? In this context, it feels it represents artificial. Something artificial, not artificial intelligence, but like artificial, like a product. Artificial. Like a lie. The moon represents a lie. And like, again, inverted, right? Just like Harriet, like this was inverted. That was inverted. Everything was inverted. And even with this, the moon, it's like thievery, right? Most crimes are committed when there's not a full moon because you can see better night, right? It's illuminated. There's inversion here. So I think the biggest message here is like this is long in the making. We're looking at just a really small snapshot into someone's soul's journey. And so it's just such a small thing in the passing of who he is on a bigger scale. And the biggest thing that I'm getting as far as like why I'm even doing this reading is they're highlighting this because I'm like, okay, so what's going on? And they're telling me, talk about why, like, why are you here? Me. Like, why am I here? Why am I doing this? And I'm seeing the snap. There's like a snap right here in the branch. I'm seeing these that never came back, these trees. And it's feeling like there are indications, it's kind of like birds, they're indicator species, right? And the indicator species where if something is happening in the world, right, environmentally speaking, and they start acting crazy, or they're passing away, or they're being replenished, they're breeding, and then they're indicating something going on in the greater scale. And so this is an indication here. This situation it's highlighting something for us on a bigger scale, just as this is just a small little passing. It's like if we just look at this and we just saw that that little portion, like we don't know that there's a moon, we don't know that there's a baby, we don't know that this is a full whale with all these like barnacles and whatever connected to it. We don't have anything but that little window. So zoom out, look at the bigger picture, and try and figure out what is being indicated here. There's this is a sounding, I don't know if it's necessarily an alarm, but it's a highlight of something amiss, something big, something bigger than what we're just looking at here, as far as, okay, this, rapper turned entrepreneur, whatever he does, he sells something else, is finally getting convicted because one of his ex-girlfriends, brought it up finally. It's like there's something bigger, something much bigger than this. And we have to look for that and think about that, because I don't know, something big is happening. And this, again, affects the world. It doesn't just affect America, right? P. Diddy's American, whatever. He's connected. He's connected to a lot of other countries and a lot of other industries. And so what is this? There's something this is supposed to be telling us, something bigger. Okay. Whether this is positive or not, right? You can look at it like, I don't know. I won't really like delve too much into it. We'll just pull a card and just leave it at that. Okay, let's just do that. Guardian angels. Adventures, openness, action. Oh, the moon. I'm just seeing again the message, right? The birds, and you think about the moon and how the moon and the tides affect one another, and the planetary alignments affect everything, you know, as far as like the gravitational pull and all of that, and how the birds, again, will react prior to this. And so again, it's just repeat that this is you need to look at P. Diddy as the indicator, and that something big is going to happen. Now, whether that's something very good, right? This could wipe away the tidal wave can wipe away a lot of chaos that doesn't necessarily need to be there. Debris is clearing out the debris, or it could be negative because it might wipe out things that it shouldn't, right? And now there's problems there. So that's the biggest message that they really want to come across for us, is that P. Diddy is an indicator for something very big that is to come. Okay, so I will talk to you guys later. Okay, bye.